This new release is actually one of the best cubes of the year in terms of specs, so let's talk about it.
So the HuaMeng TG comes in 4 variants. We have 2 variants with spring, one non-UV, one UV, and we have a maglev, one UV, one non-UV.
The first impression of this cube was quite unique. I was very surprised. First of all, this cube is on the heavy side, and it feels like it's a very light cube on the inside, but then has very heavy plastic on the outside, which gives it a very unique feel. It actually feels quite similar to the GAN 356M from back in the day, but again, this one of course has much better performance.
On this cube, this shows quite an interesting adjustment system. It's a bit similar to the V10 in the fact that you can adjust both the tension, as they call it, and that's the screw, and also the center elasticity, and that's what we usually call the spring strength. And one of these, the center travel, the screw, you need a special tool to adjust, which is not ideal. But then you can actually adjust the center elasticity, the spring strength, just with the handle. So I don't know why they did that.
At least compared to the first Tornado, this handle is really robust, and this does feel like a high quality system.
We do, however, need to discuss the range of which you can adjust this cube to. So both the screw and the spring strength, we feel that this whole system is quite redundant. We experimented with tightening the cube, putting the center travel to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that just made the cube feel way too tight. And then we also experimented with the center elasticity, the spring strength, and we tried, all the way up to 9. But the thing is that we then just kept going back and back and back towards 1, and then we've settled on actually just the factory setting, 1 and 1 for both of these, which is the loosest in both. And that's not ideal at all.
It's very interesting because Moyu must have known this was a problem before the release. Why would they else put it on setting 1 and not somewhere in the middle?
I wish we were given setting 0, -1, -2 and so on, because I know that a lot of you would have wanted to be able to switch both the center elasticity and, the screw to a much looser setting. And unfortunately you just can't on this cube.
On the other hand, the magnetization system here is actually great. And for once I have actually found a cube where the strongest magnet strength is too strong for me. And when we go to the weakest, I think it's too weak. So here we actually got everything in between, and you can get a nice magnet strength that you like.
I would also say that it's very interesting you can adjust both the ball core and the corner to edge magnets. I definitely like this because adjusting the ball core and adjusting the corner to edge magnet actually has different effects on the turning feel of the cube. You can both get a strong ball core magnetic type of feeling, you can also get a strong edge to corner magnet type of feeling. And you can also combine these settings to find exactly the magnet strength that you actually prefer on this cube.
If we're going to be nitpicky, the edges actually have more than 3 steps, and it's a cog, and you can't see which setting you are on, so you actually have to count unless you are at the top or bottom. When you rotate these cogs as well, it doesn't adjust the magnets on the other side, so you have to do it twice per edge and a total of 24 times.
Unfortunately, also the kind of rare but still corner twists do go into these corner to edge magnet system adjustment settings, and it actually locks up and can switch setting even though you don't want to. That's something to keep in mind, but luckily corner twists are quite rare on this cube.
When it comes to the specs of this cube is very fast but not overly so. The corner cutting is good, not amazing, and corner twists are rare but can happen. Popping is also not an issue on this puzzle from what we've experienced.
The one thing to note with this puzzle, which really differentiated it from other releases of Freeware Freeze lately, is the momentum in the turn. Right when you first pick up the cube for the first time, you will feel that there is definitely a weightiness to the turn. When you do a turn, you do feel that you are moving plastic with every single turn. So some of you will definitely like this, and I know that some of you will dislike this. Personally, for me, I do feel that momentum is a bit too heavy for my taste. Sometimes an extra move will just be sneaked into an alg on accident when I just do normal algorithms, and that is something to get used to, and I don't personally love it.
Yeah, so this momentum thing is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. I was mind blown out of the box. I'm like, what is this cube? And I couldn't really use it at all. One thing I noticed here as well is that I really don't like the frosted plastic on this cube. It's that type of frosted that is very hard to actually grip. I've never had a grip problem, so I don't get UV because of the grip. But on this cube I felt I really need to get the UV version of it. And speaking of UV, it's quite expensive.
So this cube actually starts at €37.99 even for the base version with spring and non-UV UV coated. And then there are different price increases, first adding UV to the spring version, and then obviously maglev and maglev UV, and that brings the cube up to $63.99 for the maglev UV variant. So this is a very expensive cube. So let's pretend that we are at a cube trying buffet where you can try all the different Speedcubes as of lately. I'm unfortunately afraid that the momentous turns will be quite off-putting to many of you, and that it might not just suit the average cuber and the average turning style. So if this was a very cheap puzzle, then I could recommend it to many.
So yeah, this cube is very unique, and I feel like this kind of turns suits a very specific type of person. But if the price is no problem for you and you just want to try this new cool cube, then who could it be for? Well, if you, for example, like the heavy style turning with strong magnets like the V9 or the V10, this cube is actually a bit more flexible than, for example, the YS3M and also the V10, which is quite blocky. So you get a bit more flexible feel here. And compared to the Moyu Weilong V9, which was more flexible than the V10, this one actually solves the corner twisting issue to an extent. It's better than on the V9.